In 2026, a house in Marggo, Saskatchewan has been sitting on the market for months. 2 bedrooms, a detached garage, a lot big enough to park your ambitions. The asking price is $29,900. That is less than a new Toyota Corolla, less than 1 year of daycare in Toronto, less than what some people spend on a kitchen renovation. And nobody has bought it. Today we are looking at 7 properties in 7 of Canada's most forgotten communities. Every single one is listed under $30,000. Every listing is real. Every MLS number is verified. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening in these towns, why the houses are this cheap, and whether any of them are actually worth buying. Let us get into it. Number 7. Marggo, Saskatchewan. Price $29,900. Marggo was incorporated as a village on April 24, 1911. It was one of dozens of tiny communities born when the railways stitched the prairies together in the early 20th century. For decades, the grain elevators along the tracks were the only reason Marggo existed. When the grain economy consolidated, villages like Marggo started losing the only thing that kept them alive: people. The 2021 census recorded a population of 65. That is down from 83 in 2016, a decline of 21.7% in just 5 years. 1 in 5 people left. Of the village's 58 private dwellings, only 36 are occupied. 22 houses have no one living in them. The property is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house at just over 1,000 square feet. MLS number SK029944. It was built in 1920, making it a century-old home. There is a detached garage, and the lot sits on Railway Avenue. The listing highlights proximity to fishing lakes in the area. Property tax information was not listed. Comparable properties in the municipality suggest taxes of $400 to $600 per year. Marggo has no grocery store, no medical clinic, no pharmacy. The nearest town with services is Kenora, roughly 40 kilometers south. Kenora has a hospital, a grocery store, and basic amenities. In winter, those 40 kilometers on Saskatchewan back roads are not trivial. Reality check. 65 people is not a community in the way most Canadians understand that word. There is no local economy. There is no employment. The house is over 100 years old. But it is a house on a lot with a garage in a village that still has municipal water and sewer. And it costs less than a mid-range ATV. This is for a hunter, an angler, or someone who wants a seasonal base near the lakes of East Central Saskatchewan. It is not for anyone looking for year-round habitation without a serious plan for supplies, connectivity, and medical access. Number 6. Acadieville, New Brunswick. $29,900. Now we head east to New Brunswick's Acadian heartland. Acadieville is a small francophone parish in Kent County, sitting on the Couchibouguac River, about 15 minutes from Couchibouguac National Park. That is a UNESCO-designated dark sky preserve with some of the best beaches in eastern Canada. Acadieville Parish has approximately 600 residents. The community has deep Acadian roots, and like much of rural Kent County, the economy here runs on forestry, fishing, peat moss harvesting, and seasonal tourism. This is a bilingual region where government services and many local businesses operate primarily in French. For $29,900, you get a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, 600 square feet. MLS number NB136350. It is a 1.5-story house on a freehold lot of roughly 500 square meters. The listing describes it as sold as is, where is, ideal for buyers looking to renovate. The structure requires updates, but offers the chance to build equity through improvements. Property tax is $169.52 a year. Read that again. Under $170 annually in property tax. Low taxes for a house on the market. The nearest hospital is roughly 30 minutes to the south. Moncton, with full urban services, is about an hour and 15 minutes by car. The upside is hard to argue with. You are 15 minutes from a national park, the property taxes are less than a single dinner out for 2, and the Acadian Peninsula is genuinely beautiful. The downside is equally clear. 600 square feet needs work. The local economy is seasonal and thin. If you do not speak French, daily life here will have a learning curve. This is for someone who loves the Maritimes, speaks or wants to learn French, and sees a $30,000 house near a national park as the gift that it is. Not for someone who expects year-round employment or English-only services. Number 5. Lower Derby, New Brunswick. $26,400. Lower Derby sits along Route 108 in the Miramichi River Valley, part of the Greater Miramichi region in northeastern New Brunswick. The Miramichi area has been a center of fishing and forestry for centuries, and the river itself is one of the most famous Atlantic salmon rivers in the world. The city of Miramichi, formed through amalgamation in 1995, has a population of about 17,700. But Lower Derby is not downtown Miramichi. It is a rural stretch along the highway where the houses thin out and the forest presses in. For $26,400, you get a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house of 850 square feet. MLS number NB131663. The listing is direct. This is a fixer-upper in a rural setting. The property sits on Route 108 with a decent-sized lot. The advantage here is proximity to the Miramichi River. The city has a hospital, grocery stores, restaurants, and an airport with regional connections. You are not as isolated as many properties on this list. The Miramichi River is right there, and if you fish, that matters enormously. Property tax information was not specifically listed, but New Brunswick rural properties in this price range typically run $500 to $800 per year. The reality check. This house needs work. The listing does not sugarcoat that. The location along Route 108 means highway noise. But you are within reasonable driving distance of actual services, which is more than most entries on this list can say. This is for someone who wants a maritime fixer-upper near one of Canada's legendary salmon rivers. A fishing camp. A weekend project. Not for anyone expecting move-in ready comfort. Number 4. Lafleche, Saskatchewan. $25,000. We head back to the prairies. Lafleche was founded in 1913 when the railway arrived. The town is named after Louis-François Richer Lafleche, a Catholic bishop. The community has deep French Catholic roots. The St. Radegonde Church, built in 1922 with clay bank brick and stained glass windows, is a listed heritage building. The boulevards are tree-lined. The streets are paved. The 2021 census recorded 373 people, down 2.4% from 382 in 2016. Of 201 total private dwellings, 17 are sitting empty. For $25,000, you get a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house at 632 square feet. MLS number SK031167. The house sits on 3 lots, giving you a significant amount of land for the price. The lot size alone is the story here. Lafleche has a kindergarten to 12 school, a curling rink, a hockey rink, a splash park, a museum, and Thompson Lake Regional Park about 10 minutes north. The nearest hospital is in Assiniboia, 45 kilometers east, or Gravelbourg, 20 kilometers north. Property tax information was not listed, but based on comparable properties in the municipality, expect somewhere around $300 to $500 per year. The reality check. 632 square feet with 1 bedroom is tight. This is a small house on a big piece of land. For $25,000, you are buying the lots as much as the structure. Someone with construction skills could see this as 3 lots in a town with paved streets, municipal water, and a school, with a small livable house already on site. This is for the person who sees land value over structure value. A builder. A downsizer who genuinely does not need space. Or someone who wants a tiny footprint in a town that still has a heartbeat. Not for a family of 4. Number 3. Sydney Mines, Nova Scotia. $25,000. Now we add a 3rd province to the list. Sydney Mines sits on the north shore of Sydney Harbour in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. This town has one of the deepest industrial histories in Canada. Mining began here in 1766. By the turn of the 20th century, Sydney Mines was one of the top coal-producing communities in North America. The Nova Scotia Steel and Coal Company built a steel plant here in 1902, and during the First World War, the combined steel output of Sydney Mines and neighboring Sydney accounted for more than 50% of Canada's total steel production. Let that settle. This little town on the edge of the Atlantic once powered half the country's war effort. The last mine, Princess Colliery, closed in 1975. The steel followed. In 1995, Sydney Mines lost its status as an independent town when it was amalgamated into the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. The broader area has a population of about 12,000, though that number has been declining steadily, down 3.7% from the 2016 census. For $25,000, you get a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, semi-detached house that is 655 square feet. MLS number 202600264. The property is at 595 Main Street. Sydney Mines has something most places on this list do not. It is part of Cape Breton. The Cabot Trail is less than an hour north. The Fortress of Louisbourg is 40 minutes east. Sydney, the largest city on Cape Breton Island, is 15 minutes south, and it has a regional hospital, an airport, a university, and actual restaurants. Property tax information was not listed for this specific property, but Cape Breton residential properties in this price range typically run between $800 and $1,200 per year. Reality check, semi-detached means shared walls. 655 square feet is small. Cape Breton's economy has struggled for decades, and the job market remains thin. But you are on Cape Breton Island, surrounded by some of the most dramatic scenery in eastern Canada, with real services within a 15-minute drive. That combination at $25,000 does not exist in many places. This is for someone who has always wanted to live on Cape Breton but assumed they could not afford it. A retiree, a remote worker, an artist, someone who values landscape and history over square footage. Not for anyone who needs career opportunities locally. Number 2, Belledune, New Brunswick, $24,900. Belledune was first settled by Francois Guittard around 1815. For most of the 20th century, the village's identity was tied to heavy industry. In 1966, a lead and zinc smelter was built at the port, eventually operated by Glencore, with a production capacity of 120,000 tons per year. That smelter was the economic engine for the entire region. Then Glencore announced the closure in late 2019. Decommissioning will continue until 2028. When the smelter goes, the jobs go. The 2021 census recorded a population of 1,325, down 6.5% from 1,417 in 2016. Of 782 private dwellings, 94 are sitting empty. For $24,900, you get a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house of 2,000 square feet. MLS number NB132874. That is not a typo. 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,000 square feet, under $25,000. The listing calls it a handyman special, which is real estate code for bring your tools and your patience. The property sits on Main Street in Belledune, near the Bay of Chaleur, which is known for its warm summer waters and stunning coastal scenery. Bathurst, a city of about 12,000 with a hospital and full services, is roughly 30 kilometers south. Property tax information was not listed, but Belledune properties in this range typically run $600 to $900 per year. The reality check. 2,000 square feet for under $25,000 means this house needs significant work. The smelter closure is not just history. It is an ongoing economic wound. This is a community trying to figure out what comes next. But the Bay of Chaleur is beautiful. Bathurst is close. And 2,000 square feet is 2,000 square feet. This is for someone with construction skills who sees a 3-bedroom house on the Bay of Chaleur as a project worth taking on. A contractor looking for a personal project. A retiree who wants space and ocean views and does not mind swinging a hammer. Not for anyone who expects this house to be livable on day one. Number 1. Goulet, New Brunswick, $11,900. We end our list in the far northeastern corner of New Brunswick, on the Acadian Peninsula. Le Goulet is a small francophone fishing village where the entire population speaks French. Not most. All. The 2021 census recorded 749 people, down 5.5% from 793 in 2016. Le Goulet sits on the coast of the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Fishing, particularly snow crab, lobster, and shrimp, has been the backbone of this community since its founding. The Acadian Peninsula is one of the most culturally distinct regions in Canada, with traditions, cuisine, and festivals that draw from over 400 years of Acadian history. For $11,900, you get a 2-bedroom house of 1,600 square feet. MLS number NB134525. No full bathroom is listed in the property details, which means the plumbing situation needs investigation. The house is on Rue de la Tourbe, and the listing describes it as an older home in need of renovation. Let that price settle. $11,900. That is less than a used Honda Civic. Less than 2 months of rent in Vancouver. Less than some people spend on a vacation. For a house on land in a coastal fishing village in one of the most beautiful corners of eastern Canada. Property tax information was not specifically listed, but New Brunswick properties at this valuation typically run under $300 per year. The nearest hospital is in Lafleche or Caraquet, both within a reasonable drive. The Acadian Peninsula has schools, grocery stores, and a vibrant cultural life, but everything operates in French. If you do not speak French, you will need to learn. The reality check. No listed bathroom tells you something. This house needs work, possibly extensive work. At $11,900, you are buying potential and location more than structure. The Acadian Peninsula is remote by any Canadian standard. The job market is seasonal fishing and not much else, and winter on the Gulf of St. Lawrence is not gentle. This is for someone who speaks French, loves the ocean, and has the skills or the budget to renovate a coastal property in one of Canada's last truly affordable seaside communities. A dreamer with a tool belt. Not for anyone who expects convenience or comfort out of the box. 7 properties, 3 provinces. Prices from $11,900 to $29,900. None of them are perfect. The cheapest one may not have a functioning bathroom. The biggest house needs a complete overhaul. The village in Saskatchewan has 65 people in the entire community, and one of these towns is still reeling from the closure of its largest employer. But here is what is also true. There are places in this country where you can own a home, on land, with a roof, in a community that has a post office and a hockey rink, for less than what most Canadians pay in rent every 4 months. The trade-off is distance, cold, isolation. Job markets thinner than the ice on a March dugout. The quiet kind of risk that comes with planting your life in a place that the rest of the country has already decided to leave behind. But for certain people, that is not a warning. That is an invitation. Every listing in this video is real and active on Realtor.ca as of April 2026. MLS numbers are on screen and in the description below. Do your own due diligence. Get inspections. Talk to local agents. And do not buy a house because someone on the internet told you it was cheap. Which property would you actually consider? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, real listings, real prices, zero fluff, subscribe and hit the bell. We post these every week and the listings disappear fast.